Well, let's get started. Hope you're ready for something that'll probably knock your socks off. Be very interested in your feedback and what you think after you're done hearing it. So let's get started. Let's start with this. Why am I doing this? I want to dissolve the treasonous infestations for real Americans. That includes governors, Newsom, Waltz, all of them. And you add to it after you see this. Why now? When Charlie was assassinated, I went to Grok. And I want you to know Grok is my partner on this entire thing. I went to Grok 6 hours after Charlie's assassination, and this is what I asked him. And the biggest reason is because the media, they're ignorant, they're narcissistic, and they have greed. And what they've done is they haven't thought enough. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. Never thought anybody's going to investigate them. Never thought they'd go to jail. Look at what they're yelling about with what President Trump's doing. They're getting caught. They're getting caught because we're investigating, and they never thought, because it never happened before, that they had any repercussions. None. What they forgot about is that there is 30 years worth of data sitting out there. Fortunately, we got these data centers going up, and we can find information. And the ability to locate it easily, just spend time and look at it. So this is a little background as to why. As we're getting into this and watching this, I'd like you to think about a couple things and keep it in your mind and question as you're going through this. Number one, our new team up in Washington identified that towards the end of Biden's term, about $5.5 billion was sent out for something. So just ask yourself whether or not this could be part of it. Number two, all of those pardons that were given for people for their entire life. And we ask, why? Let's throw some thought into that as to, does this and those people have anything to do with it? So let's get started with this. Well, I'm going to show you some of this and lay the foundation for where I started. This happened last Friday. This is what started the whole thing off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you step by step and show you what I found. And you make your own determination. So let's listen to a little bit of this woman. And Rachel, you just couldn't stop. If you would have just stayed home, this is where she came back. She was off for a while and came back doing one day a week. This woman makes $25 million a year, working one day a week. That works out to $483,000 a week. Now she's gone off onto some projects, doing her own production, and I'm going to get into some of that later, because the gentleman that's the first production she did, I feel very bad for him. We'll get into that later. My objective is to take, and I'm going to do this, Rachel. I've started right now. This is my first one. I will be fact-checking every upcoming episode of you, and there are years and years and years of your stuff out there. I am going to be going through each one of those, and I'm going to fact-check each one of those. And I will be putting out, if your stuff's good, I'll say it. But if there's stuff in there, I'm just going to put it out there so that your audience, and as you refer to them in some of your vanity articles, your loyal followers, so that they get to think about what you've been telling them. So let's listen to what she has to say here.
To reverse their changes to health insurance. Their policy changes that are going to spike people's health insurance costs in very short order, almost by almost unbelievable amounts. And I'll show you what I mean. States are now starting to release the actual numbers on what.
Now, this is what I want you to focus on. I want you to focus on which states that she talks about. I want you to focus on the premiums that she outlines. I want you to listen to how she talks about who's to blame for this and who's going to be hurt. So just keep that in your mind as you're going through this, because that's the basis for this whole thing.
Tens of millions of Americans who get their health insurance through the online marketplaces. Look, based on the newly posted information, meaning the pricing information that's now being posted in multiple states, a family of four making $130,000 in Maine, so you combine the family's income, everybody's salaries, you got to do $130,000, that family would face an increase in their annual health insurance premiums next year of $16,100. That's how much their health insurance premiums would go up. But maybe that's, that sounds like it's a fairly well-off family, and you think, oh, well, maybe that doesn't apply to me. I'm not quite in that kind of a bracket. Well, imagine you're in a couple, you're each 60 years old, and you put both of your salaries together, combined, you make $85,000 a year. So maybe one of you's making 40 grand a year, maybe one of you's making $45,000 a year. Combined, your couple's income is $85,000 a year. In Maryland, your insurance premium is going to go up by $13,700. In Minnesota, your insurance is going to go up by $15,500. In Nevada, it's going to go up by $18,100. In Kentucky, the increase for you guys as a couple will be that you are expected to pay an additional $23,700 per year. That is the amount of increase we are looking at in people's health insurance premiums. Can your family afford just randomly an additional charge of $24,000 for exactly what you're getting right now, for $24,000 less than that? I mean, these are insane numbers. But this is what Republicans, in their policy changes on healthcare, what they have done to health insurance costs. And this specifically is what Democrats have been screaming bloody murder about.
Well, unfortunately, Rachel, this specifically is why you guys, you just don't think. You keep pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding. You think the more you pound, the better it's going to be. Well, unfortunately, the more you talk, the more you put in text, the worse you are. So now let's take this. If you were looking at this and saying, okay, I just found myself an avenue, because again, I started thinking about this 30 days ago. And now there's there's a big thing out there, this healthcare stuff. They've been talking about, and now she comes on TV. Obviously, New York Times put it out there. But she comes on TV spouting all this stuff. And I saw it. I would have never seen the New York Times. But I saw this. And I looked at it and I said, I wonder if that's accurate. So what did I do? I did my little stuff. Let me start. What I first did is I said, okay, one of those states that you talked about was Maryland. So what I did is I wanted to go, what is about Maryland? So let me find my tabs here. Hold on. Okay, first starting to look into it. And everybody says, and it's true, that this is confusing. Part of me says, as I'm looking through this, and I spent a lot of time on this, it is confusing. And they want it to be confusing, which is wrong. One of the biggest things in each of our lives is health care. And these guys are making it so confusing. How do you know what's happening? So, we all know about Obamacare, and that's where I started, because I didn't know any of this. And realize this is Obamacare. This is where you go to. You go to this healthinsurance.org. And it comes up, and this is where it starts at. And this is your thing. the website, healthinsurance.org. So from there, I got to this. And one of the things it said, I'd asked was, which states offer their own health insurance? Subsidies. It comes down and it gives you these different states: California, Colorado, Connecticut, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey. Now let me share with you what this means. This here is the federal government's, think of it as the federal government's insurance plans, financial plans, subsidies, and this is what you buy off, what every state buys off. However, some states have started their own healthcare plans. So every resident in the given states that have their own health plans, really their own health care marketplace, every resident in those states can either buy from the government's plan, which is Obamacare, or they can buy from a plan from what the state set up. That's interesting. So that led me to, because she mentioned Maryland, so I wanted to see, let's now go take a look at what Maryland's doing. This is Maryland. So on the website of healthinsurance.org, ACA Marketplace /Maryland, this comes up. Now, this is a website that looks at all the data for Maryland within and looking at the data on our Obamacare insurance plan. And that's the federal insurance plan. And every state has a website like this. It would be ACA Marketplace /Texas /California /Maine. So every one of them have one of these pages. Okay? So now here in Maryland, you come down and it says, who can buy marketplace health insurance from Maryland? So now this is going to tell you a question. You take a person to a federal website, and the question here, coming off the federal website, which every resident within Maryland is going to go to, the very first question says, who can buy marketplace health insurance? Now you got to remember, I looked at this last Friday. You got to think about, they've been bitching and moaning for a month or so. So we come here, who can buy marketplace health insurance in Maryland? When marketplace health insurance, if you look up top where at that website, ACA Marketplace, that's the website with the federal information. But now they're saying who can buy from Maryland's marketplace. It's a little bit confusing, eh? Because what they did, who can buy marketplace health insurance in Maryland? So what they're really saying is the Maryland insurance program that they set up. Here's your qualifications. They recently, and they got approval from Biden, and it was back in September or October of last year. They had to get an addendum from federal government that would allow them to enroll illegal immigrants into this program. And they got that. And if you look at it, and I'm not going to go into all that detail, you'll be able to look into it, but they put an amendment into the Maryland Code that they got approval from the Biden administration to let hold on, I got it, sir, to let illegal aliens sign up. But when you come down here, they talk about, you can read all this. Everything is about the federal. You're going to be dropping everything, oh, boom, boom, and all this stuff. But what they talk about is something called Maryland Health Connection Plans. Maryland has been working in the process of allowing undocumented immigrants to enroll via Maryland Health Connection, which is what I said. This is their health plan. So you can either buy from the federal government's ACA marketplace, or you can buy from their specific little state-funded thing. So they're going to be allowing immigrants to sign up there, albeit without subsidies, unless state-funded subsidies were to eventually be allocated. So what it's telling you, and it's telling you Maryland obtained federal permission to allow undocumented immigrants on their comprehensive plan. So what you need to do is there's a link down here that is now going to take you over to this. So this is coverme.gov. covermaine.gov, and you get to this website. You still think as a resident, you still think you have no, what's the difference between these two? You don't even ask yourself that question. You don't know to ask that question. So what you come on over here, a plan that fits, that can support you and count on. This goes on and talks about now all of what Maine has done to be able to provide cheap insurance, and they found a way to make up for what the federal government is not going to be paying on the subsidies that are due to be turned off in December. So what they've done is you come on into here, a lot of changes are taking place. Unless Congress acts soon to extend federal tax credits, some of the savings that members receive will not be available. There's uncertainty about this. Want to make sure that you got it. Go to their homepage. Go to their homepage, and here's what you get. Now, this is at marylandhealthconnect.gov. Maryland Health Connection. This is Maryland's insurance. So if we come on over here to say, big changes. Starting next year, federal rules will change health insurance in Maryland. We're happy to help you understand what's happening. 4 things right now. 1, use your coverage. Your 2025 plan is still good. Plan for higher costs. The extra savings, enhanced premium tax credits funded by the federal government will probably end this year. Financial help is still available, but many enrollees will receive less than before. But don't worry, we'll help you. Compare plans, find one thing that fits better, and connect the free help. What they are doing on this is they're telling you to compare plans. What plans are they referring to? They are referring to compare the plan you can find here at Maryland Health or the plan that you find from the federal government. Compare the two. If you look at the costs over here, you're going to find that $16,000. You're going to find that, what they were talking about. Because the subsidies from the federal government are not being applied within the federal plan. So they're asking you to compare. Where'd it go? What happened? Where'd I go? Oh, here it is. Compare your plans. So it's asking you to compare the federal what the feds are offering through Obamacare, and compare that to what we can offer you here off of Maryland's insurance. Connect. This year, Maryland is providing financial help thanks to the new state program, Maryland Premium Assistance. The amount of assistance depends on the factors da-da-da-da-da. So let's take a look at something else now. So am I eligible? Am I eligible for Medicaid? What is the age limit? Okay, do I qualify? Let's get a look at all that. See how confusing it is? Now this talks about all of the what they're talking about here. It talks about how they've extended this Maryland program. And it's there to set off to affect the expected sunset of the federal premium subsidies. Maryland Health Connection. So if we look here, they got these little numbers here. There's 20. Take a look at what it says. Here we go right here. Now this came out September 22nd, 2025. Here we go. Maryland commissioners are granted that have premium rates through their Maryland program. The rates for individual insurance plans under the Affordability Act will increase on average of 13%, largely due to the impacts of expiring federal credits not yet taken. The approved rates are 3.7% lower on average than insurance carriers originally requested, saving $55 million. Under the new federal administration, Washington has skirted its duties to help middle-class Americans and family. No single state can fill the gap from the federal government. But in Maryland, we will continue to do everything we can to improve the cost, said Governor Westmore. Maryland has maintained this, While the percentage of increase is higher than recent years, Marylanders will continue to have some of the most affordable individual market rates in the country, largely because of the continued effectiveness of Maryland's 1332 State Innovation Waiver in stabilizing the market. 1332 waiver was a result of bipartisan legislation effort in 2018 and approved by federal U.S. Centers of Medicare and Medicaid through 2028. They're also due to adoption of state-biased subsidy programs by the Maryland Exchange, which will partially replace the anticipated loss of enhanced tax credit from the federal government. So this is talking about their thing now. The approved rates are 6% lower than the pre-waiver of 18, and the waiver continues to keep 30% lower and 35% than they would be. The 13.4% increase was driven by the expiring tax credits, as well as increased medical, The anticipated effort. So what they originally, you got to remember what they originally started out saying. Everything was going up 66%. 66% is what they said. That was on all of the media. This comes down here now. It tells you, here's their increases. Lowest cost silver plan. Look at this. Monthly change. Is that 66%? I don't think so. It's actually 4.7, 8.0, 10.0, 13.0, 6.1, 14.9, 9.8. It's a far cry from a 66%. So that's what I learned from after starting to investigate Maryland, and it taught me a lot. It taught me about the federal program, and it taught me about these states that have set up their own programs. And after going through all this confusing stuff, on all of the verbiage on here, I didn't realize it until spending a lot of time that going through all of these pages on this Maryland thing, it took a while for me to really understand that it was two different programs. So next, what I wanted to do, so the question here is, where did they get the money? Because you're going to find that Maryland went back to their state, to the Senate and everything in the state, amended things to fund this program, to allow everybody to ride on this program and to cover the loss of subsidies from the feds. Where did they get the money to fund this? They certainly cannot take everybody over from the feds on the federal program, plop them onto here, and have money available to start to pay for it at these rates. That's what you got to ask yourself. Where did the money come from? Think back to that $5 billion, okay? Let's go take a look at California. Now, as I started this out, I had mentioned to you that if they just shut their mouth, if they didn't feel so cocky and arrogant, I think it's this one here. Hold on. Okay, so here, let's go to this one. This is California. Now we're going to start off right here. This is on, as I mentioned to you, they have two different, these states are setting up a different program, a state-covered program. In California's state-covered program is called Covered CA. So it's at coveredca.com. And if you go into their newsroom on something that came out August 14th of 2025, from their illustrious Grassham Newsom, you read down. The big thing that I wanted to bring up here, because this also talks about the rate increases if there's no government subsidies. Okay? Hammering. While the funding will provide a meaningful lifetime for the lowest income covered California enrollees, so what's talking about up here is that in 2025, that certain amount of people were on this California plan, and talks about that here it is right here. This year, California is continuing to take proactive steps to shield its lowest income enrollees from the steepest rate increases and reduce costs for consumers, should the enhanced credits expire. For 2026, they're going to pump in $190 million to provide state subsidies for individuals earning up to 150%. Now, they're pumping that into their California plan. In 2025, they put in $165 million. So on top of what the feds were paying, they threw in $165 million. Now, we couldn't stop there if we just would have stopped. So that was in 2025. 2026, he's going to throw in $190 into his fund. Then he comes down here and says, while this funding will provide meaningful lifeline for the lowest income covered California enrollees, it's far from the $2.1 billion hole the federal government, $2.1 billion, $2.1 billion hole the federal government would be leaving if Congress takes timely action and extends the enhanced premium tax results. Covered California will be able to maintain the current enhancements and levels. Now they come down here, even in this chaotic federal environment, California is leading the way to keep everyone good. And so, incredibly proud of the progress we've been covering over 2 million people. Our success is a statement to the quality health insurance that has been available. The federal enhanced premium tax credits help reduce the cost for monthly premiums and the value that people see in having health insurance for themselves and their families. We have lots of work still to do, and that begins with Congress taking action, extend those tax credits. They're talking about, they're confused everybody in the world because they mix the two together. What they're talking about is they're on a page about their own website. Then they start coming back here and saying, well, if it's not funded, the government doesn't fund it. They're really talking about the federal plan, not their plan. So now you come down here. Despite the challenges posed by the federal uncertainty, covered Californians, which is their plan, covered California, strong enrollment combined with one of the healthiest consumer pools in the nation continues to attract great insurance companies. This has resulted in increased competition, choices of benefits, and Californians. In 2026, there's going to be more insurance companies will offer more plans. Insurance Californians have access to more choices. Additionally, 92% will be able to choose from carriers. Now, what this is all talking about is carriers that are part of the California plan. Changes for 2026 include Aetna's going, which are gone from everybody. Covered Californians, which is their plan, is committed to affordable access, remains unwavering, Here's their increases. Here's their plans. Look, 10, 11, 8, 7, 9. They have shut down our government. They have shut down America. They have combined, they're blaming everybody. My question here, where did Gavin Newsom in California get money to cover the $2.1 billion? That's where he failed. That's where, again, his little mouth. I would never know or what to question. He threw this $2.1 billion that he's got to cover. Where is he getting $2.1 billion to cover what the government is not covering and give these kind of rates? Again, let's go back to where did that $5 billion go? Let's go back to so this is California. Let's go back to the pardons. Does that have anything to do with this? My thing, me, I don't care pardons, I don't care anything. This is treasonous. They have, these states have colluded. So we're following this track to remember where I started. I started with Rachel Maddow, which tied in New York Times, which now after we're looking at each of these states, now we're going to look at, I wanted to take a look at, okay, let's look at one more thing. If we look at this, where are we? If you're on the California website, this is the California, it still looks like you're working on the federal thing. But then you go ahead and click on something and you get the special enrollment. Where because of special enrollment, which now you're enrolling in the California thing, confusing the resident again, that they are in the state's program. So now you got in your head federal, state. So as I was doing this, I said, okay, let's take a look at a state that is not on that list of states. And what do you see from them? So I went to Texas. And as you can see, I'm on healthinsurance.org, ACA-Marketplace, Texas. So again, this is the federal marketplace. And you come down, they got the same question. How can I find affordable health insurance in Texas? And if you read through this, it doesn't talk of anything about another website. It does talk about the Affordable Care Act. It talks about subsidies. It talks about all that. But it does not say that Texas has its own insurance company. Our marketplace premiums increases in Texas. Well, look at here. In Texas, family health insurance, the following average premium changes have been proposed. Look at these. Look at those. So, let me conclude. What started because this woman could not shut her mouth ended up with a lot of investigation all the way through New York Times, each state. All of this stuff is confusion between the federal program and now these state programs. The question we have to ask ourselves is, why just those states? Obviously, every state in the country is going to be having a challenge. 2, the thoughts of this program, these state programs, to be able to handle the challenge of 2025 or 2026, if and when Donald Trump got into office. This is Obamacare. So I believe that Obama sat around, these folks sat around, they had to come up with an idea. What if Trump gets in? Trump is not going to extend this stuff. So November, Trump gets in. These programs, some of them had been started, and there are some states that are now starting to sign them up or set them up. But as you can see from what I went through, these plans that they had were started a long time ago. As you can see from the dates that they put out, news stuff, etc. They had to get state approvals. They had to get all this funding in. So how did they get funding into these state programs to now go out in their 2026 sign up? They're pointing everybody to their state programs. How did they know that money was going to be available in those state programs? How did they know everything they had to do, from setting up websites, setting up all of their enrollment stuff, etc., etc.? Certainly don't just snap your fingers and get it done. So I wanted to get this out so that you guys can start making your own determinations. I know what my thoughts are and my feelings are. Let's see what yours are. Thank you for listening. Give me your feedback. Send this out to everybody. Every platform. Get it out there. Let's see, get feedback. This is going to shut them up. Thank you for looking after this service.